Alright guys, and welcome to my documentary about famous editors and editing equipment they used to make the films possible. First off, we start with the Lumiere brothers. They were the very first filmmakers. Without them, we wouldn't get the movies we have today. However, they couldn't do that much editing as they didn't have any equipment. So what they had to do was cut the film reel with scissors, and then if they wanted to put the reels together, they would have to use tape. They solved the problem with Edison's kinetograph. The first one was the weight and size of the camera. The second one was that one person could view it at one time. So they set out to invent their first experiments and created the cinematograph in 1895. Next one in line is George Mills. He experimented with special effects to see if the audience enjoyed it. He was a theatrical showman showing his magic. When he saw Lumiere's brother's cinematograph, he was very impressed. He went to see Robert Poole in London to be able to let him build his own film projector. Later on, he was able to make his own movie, Trip to the Moon, in 1902. The technique he used was jump cuts to trick the audience to make them believe they went to the moon. After George Mills was Edwin S. Porter. In his films, he used cross-going to make the audience understand the film better. Cross-going was good because it helps to build tension in the film, because each shot was telling two different parts of the story, but occurring at the same time. It was telling two different parts of the story but leading to the same ending. This is one of the purpose of editing called time. Time will cut down and stretch the time to make it more intense. Another one is space. Space can help cross-going by showing the audience how far are to each other without being in the same shot. This kept the audience excited about the movie. The skill he had with his editing made his films look better than everyone else's work. His famous movie was The Great Train Robbery in 1903. Then there was D.W. Griffin. What he did was he was filming using different camera angles and different camera distances by using cross-going. This was used to show the audience what was happening in the film so they could understand it. He showed his films to urban working class and so showed some presidents at the White House. Next up was the Russian man Khrushchev. What he discovered that audiences divide more meaning through a sequence of images than adding emotion connectors rather than through an actual performance. So the audience would think the actor had different feelings towards different images. He wanted to focus on developing his own style. His first ever movie was made in 1917 called Twilight. The next one is Eisenstein. No, not Albert Einstein, Sergei Eisenstein. And what he did was create powerful montages to see what the audience's emotion and views were to his montages. In great movies that went down in history like Battleship Potemkin, which was made in 1925. His montages were loads of different shots of something or someone and put them all together to make a story. This is one of the purpose of editing called rhythm. Rhythm let shots flow between each other, which made Eisenstein's montages flow well. Basically, you couldn't have done this without the maneuver. This device was made in 1924. It was made by Ian Suller, and it could hold 65 to 70 millimeters of film. The next one is a group of filmmakers called La Nouvelle Vague. La Nouvelle Vague means French New Wave. They broke all the rules of editing by breaking the 180-degree rule. They also broke jump cuts, so the audience didn't know where they were or didn't know what was going on, so it kept them watching the movie or film. But some of them couldn't have done it without some editing devices. In 1956 came the Amprex VTR. It was a device that allowed television to be recorded by using magical tape so you can edit the film reel. This was better than a revolver because it could hold more storage. 2 years after that came the VTR 1000. This device made editors try to create different methods on how they would make their movies or films better. This was an upgrade to the last version so it could hold more, and plus it was much easier to edit. Then another 2 years later came the editing tables. On this table was a flatbed machine with new intertwined with a KEM editing table. A year after that was the EECO 900 was made. It was an editing controller appears using time codes. In that same year, the Amprex company made electrical editors where you could edit videos and films without any hassle. This was so much better than the last Amprex device because it was so much easier to edit and view films. This was the start of making editing easy to use. More advanced editing devices came with the CMX600. This device was made in 1971 and it was the first non-linear editing device, and you could edit reels and films. This makes this device work. You need disk drives and they were very big. Lucasfilm made the AirDroid in 1984. It was a computer workstation that relies on analog laserdiscs so people could be able to random exercise editing. Between 1988 to 91, editing software was made with EMC and Advid. Both these softwares are both non-linear editing software. Could edit clips, so it was much easier and better. Editing software just keeps on improving. A massive 10 years later came the multi-core CPU. It was a high-power software which granted a computer resource to be able to edit digital video at higher resolutions. Better because the way someone viewed a video will receive it much better than in the past. Now, moving on today, we can film videos on our phones and put the clips in our computer and make a film out of it. Digital editing is now dominating the editing industry. Now we move on to non-linear and linear editing. Non-linear is when we can go back and edit clips if we want to make clips longer or shorter if we wanted to, or if we didn't like it and we can change it and go back. Linear editing is when footage of a film is put in order so the scene runs smoothly, but you cannot change it or go back.